There's actually a lot going on in this Psalm number 8 that you just heard Bob read. It begins and ends with this verse. O Lord, our God, how majestic is your name in all the earth. It is an expression of pure praise. And it's almost sort of the support of the whole thing. It's the beginning and the end. But what you may have easily missed as Bob read that was a passing reference to the forces of destruction and chaos that are so much a part of life. Referred to in the psalm as God's foes, the enemy and the avenger. And each of us individually and collectively as a nation know what that power of destruction, of chaos feels like, that those forces that tempt us to despair, to give up hope, right? Each of us knows that in our own personal lives, and when we look at our country, we feel that as well. But it's interesting that Psalm says that God has created a bulwark against those dark forces, a bulwark that will hold them in check. I had to look up the word bulwark to make sure I knew what it meant. A bulwark is a defensive wall, one that keeps out the forces of destruction. It also refers to an extension on the sides of a ship, which makes sense because in the ancient world, the very symbol of chaos and destruction was the deep, dark ocean over which the boats that traveled often never returned home from, sinking into the deep darkness of the waves. It was the very symbol of destruction and chaos, of annihilation. But what exactly is the bulwark that God has created against such forces? This is a quiz. Did you listen quick? Did you listen carefully to that song? What was the bulwark? It's easily missed. Out of the mouths of babes and infants, you have founded a bulwark. There's nothing, is there not, that is so essentially pure praise as the babbling of a baby, right? It's with beyond words, the sense of praise and the goodness of life and the graciousness of all that is ultimately made by God. Somebody once said, you know, a baby is God's message that the world should continue. That's something of the essence here. It's powerful. Praise is something that is the bulwark of the forces of chaos and destruction. A walk in the woods is part of what evokes a sense of praise for us. Beautiful music at its core is praise. It is this affirmation of the goodness of life. It is this capacity, it inspires us to say, yes, life is good. It is good to be alive. There is reason to hope. On his tombstone, Kurt Vonnegut wanted this written. The only proof he needed for the existence of God was music. Really beautiful music kind of inspires that sense. There really is this deeper order that is made of love, that inspires us to want to be alive. The poet Edna St. Vincent Millay said, referring to Bach, no less, I can whistle almost the whole of the Fifth Symphony of Bach, all four movements, and with it I have solaced many a whining hour to sleep. It answers all my questions, the noble, mighty thing. It is, quote, green pastures and still waters. Those who know your 23rd Psalm know the reference there. To my soul, indeed, without music, I should wish to die. That's what music does. It leads us beside the still waters. It makes us lie down in the green pastures. It restores our souls when otherwise we would be easily tempted to despair, to give up hope, to think that the powers of chaos and destruction are ultimately going to win. Music important. Vijay Gupta, remarkable story. He knows something of the powers of depression himself. If you read his story, he went to college at age 14 and graduated at age 17. His parents put extraordinary pressure on him, and he felt very alone often. When you're a 14-year-old in college, you feel very alone. He knew a lot personally of the power of despair and depression, but music, he said, was always a form of worship for him. It lifted his soul. And when he graduated from college at 17, he had a degree in biology, and his parents wanted him to go to medical school, and he didn't do what they wanted. He went, followed his passion for music, and at age 19 became the youngest member violin player in the Los Angeles Symphony. And then he made that connection I referred to with the man who was living on the streets with mental illness. And he said he could understand. He knew though, that temptation to go into the darkness, that despair. It was strong in him, and he was grateful for the people who had loved and supported him, and he was thankful for music that lifted him up. And he felt that call to be in ministry through music to those who were less fortunate. He said, why should this blessing that is music only be in these expensive concert halls? Why can't they be taken out to where the people are hurting? And so to return to Psalm 8, it tells us, when I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you have established, all this wondrous order and beauty that inspires praise. What are human beings that you are mindful of them, mortals that you care for them? What is our place in creation? And essentially the psalm says we have two roles. And one is to have dominion over the earth, and that's one of the verses that's been abused terribly because people think that sounds like we're able to just sort of trash the earth for whatever purposes we want. That's not what that means. That means we're supposed to take good care of this beautiful earth we have given. But the other role we have is to praise. That is, to be this conscious, sentient being that can look at awe and wonder at the beauty of the earth and hear the beauty of Bach and say, wow. That's really what separates us from the animal kingdoms, is the capacity for praise. We don't necessarily live out that capacity. In fact, often we do anything but praise. But the psalm says that's what we were put on this earth, is to care for creation and to give God praise. And it is through praise that those forces of despair and chaos and destruction, many of which are really wreaking havoc in our country right now, can be held in check. And we can remember life is a gift from God, to be shared, to be offered in love. That's why we're here. Please pray. Thank you, oh God, for the beauty that is music. Thank you for this wondrous creation that moves us to sing your praise. Thank you for the bulwark that you have provided against those powers of destruction. Give us the courage to praise you and to be careful, compassionate stewards of this earth and of the lives of one another, that our lives may indeed fulfill our calling and our creation. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.